the signal crackles, and tonight, wanderers, it locks onto something that rides the darkened roads of Ireland. A figure feared for centuries, not for malice, but for inevitability. He carries no face upon his shoulders, and yet he sees all. They call him the Dullahan, the Headless Rider, a harbinger who does not chase, who does not hunt, only arrives when the end is already written. Lean closer to the static wanderers, for once you hear the hooves upon the road, there is no turning away.
Picture this: a narrow country road, winding through the fields and hedgerows of Ireland, the night air heavy with damp and mist. The land itself seems to hold its breath. The moon rides low in the sky, a pale silver coin fighting its way through drifting clouds, its weak light glimmering across the wet stone walls that line the path. The silence is sharp, broken only by the steady drone of cicadas and the sudden flap of crows startled from their roost. A wooden gate groans somewhere in the distance, though no hand touched it, and the smell of peat smoke drifts faintly on the breeze, as if carried from some unseen cottage fire. And then, you hear it. The first sound is faint, but unmistakable. The steady strike of hooves against stone, a hollow rhythm that carries on the night air. Then comes the rattle of chains, iron clinking against iron, accompanied by a low, guttural snort that no ordinary horse should make. The sounds grow closer with each heartbeat, though no rider should be on these roads at such an hour, and no mortal beast would dare. From the mist, a figure emerges, a rider clad in black, astride a great dark horse whose eyes burn like red-hot coals. The horse's nostrils flare, snorting steam into the cold air, while its hooves strike sparks from the cobblestones with each step. Upon the rider's shoulders, where a head should rest, there is nothing. Instead, in one pale arm, he cradles his severed head. The head's flesh is mottled and decayed, its grin stretched into a grotesque leer. Its eyes roll endlessly, searching, watching, and, if the legends are true, always finding their mark. This is the Dullahan, Ireland's Headless Horseman. He does not ride for sport, nor chase the unwary for cruelty's sake. He rides with only one purpose: to claim the soul whose time has come. When the Dullahan appears, it is not a warning, nor a chance to run. His presence means only one thing: death is already near. They say you can hear him before you see him. Doors slam shut, shutters are drawn, and lamps are snuffed out the moment the first echoes reach a village. Mothers gather their children close, and even the bravest men refuse to speak his name aloud. For the Dullahan cannot be barred by lock or iron gate. When he rides, no mortal wall holds him back. His whip cracks through the night, a sound sharper than thunder. Yet it is no leather strap. The stories whisper of something far darker, a whip fashioned from the spine of the dead. Each strike splinters the silence, and with it, courage itself. In his other hand, he bears his own head, carried like a lantern to light his way. Its skin glows with a strange, phosphorescent sheen, yellowed as if steeped in grave dirt, its grin fixed in a rictus that chills the marrow. Those rolling eyes, burning with unholy sight, sweep across the land. And when they settle on you, there is no escape. For the Dullahan does not ride aimlessly. When he halts, it is to speak a name, just once. And the moment that name is uttered, the person to whom it belongs will die. No healer can save them. No prayer can delay their fate. The Dullahan does not miss his mark. It is said that when he calls, the living feel their hearts falter. A sudden stillness, a silence deep within the chest, as though the soul itself had been summoned out of the body. And in that moment, all struggle ceases. Death is already claimed. Legends of the Dullahan reach back into the heart of Ireland's pagan past, woven into tales of the old gods and the rites that once bound the people to the land. Many scholars believe he is a shadow of Crom Dubh, a dark fertility god to whom ancient harvest sacrifices were once made. When those rites ended, the stories say Crom Dubh's spirit lingered, transforming over time into this terrible rider, collecting not offerings of grain or cattle, but human souls. In parts of Connacht, elders whispered that the Dullahan rides only on festival nights, when ancient fire rituals once burned high on the hills. They said the smoke of sacrifice still clings to him, curling from his horse's mane, his chains rattling like the remnants of old iron tools buried with the dead. Elsewhere, he is linked with banshees, Ireland's weeping heralds of death. Where the banshee mourns the passing to come, the Dullahan enforces it. She warns, he delivers. In this sense, they are not enemies, but reflections of the same truth, that death cannot be denied. Some tales speak of his head itself as a lantern, glowing faintly with a sickly yellow light. Others say it is a decaying mask, oozing black ichor, its grin stretched wide to mock those who cling to life. And yet, though his form shifts from village to village, one truth remains constant. When he calls your name, your time has come. Across Ireland, whispers of the Dullahan have passed from hearth to hearth, each retelling weighted with dread. Some speak of him riding silently across open fields, the horse's hooves leaving no mark upon the soil, yet sparks flying when it strikes stone. Others recall seeing him pause at crossroads, his head held high, as if sniffing the air, listening for the soul he has come to claim. In the hills of County Down, villagers told of a woman who saw the Dullahan cresting a ridge at twilight. His horse's eyes burned bright as lanterns, and though she fled to her cottage and barred the door, the iron latch rattled violently on its own. When she dared to look out again, the rider was gone. But by morning, her neighbor lay dead in his bed. In Donegal, men claimed that if the Dullahan's gaze fell upon you, it mattered little whether he called your name. A splash of black blood from his whip, sometimes said to be a human spine, would blind you in one eye, marking you as one already touched by death. Others tell of families who, upon hearing chains and hooves in the night, knew without question that someone inside would not see the dawn. Doors bolted, windows shuttered, prayers whispered. None of it mattered. The Dullahan does not ride in vain. And yet, he is not always a terror of the open road. In more modern tales, the Dullahan has been glimpsed on quiet lanes, silhouetted by headlights, his dark horse standing impossibly still at the edge of the tarmac. Some say he has even been seen along Ireland's motorways, his form unchanged by centuries, a relic of myth striding into the present. Though the Dullahan is said to be unstoppable, the people of Ireland whispered of ways, fragile though they may be, to ward him off. In one version, the only thing that drives him back is gold, not weapons, nor prayers, nor iron bars upon the door. A single coin, a glimmer of the precious metal, is enough to send him reeling into the mist. Farmers carried coins in their pockets, and families tucked them into door frames, hoping to buy a little more time when the hoofbeats drew near. Some claimed that the Dullahan despises being watched. If you see him, do not stare too long. Avert your gaze, close the curtains, pretend you never heard the chains at all. To meet his rolling eyes is to invite his call. Others held fast to ritual. At the sound of distant hooves, candles were snuffed, lamps extinguished, and the household sat in silence. To draw attention was to draw doom. Even the dogs, it was said, cowered in corners, their whimpers warning the living that the headless rider was near. Yet despite these whispered protections, the truth of the Dullahan is darker. He is not a spirit to be bargained with, nor a curse to be broken. His ride is certain, his purpose unchanging. The gold may buy a moment, the darkness may delay his gaze. But when your name is upon his lips, there is no escaping his claim. And so, the Dullahan became less a monster to be fought, and more a figure to be endured, a reminder of inevitability, of the thin veil between the living and the dead. But what if the Dullahan is not a monster at all? In Ireland, death has always been a companion. The land is rich with wakes, keening, and laments, rituals that give sorrow its place among the living. The Dullahan may not be cruelty given form, but inevitability given a face, or rather, a lack of one. His severed head, with its roving eyes and grotesque grin, can be read not as horror, but as truth. The body decays, the flesh fails, yet the soul rides on. He does not taunt, but testifies. No king, no soldier, no farmer, no child escapes the same fate. Some storytellers whispered that he is not the cause of death, but its herald. Like a bell tolling, or the keening of a banshee, his ride is not malice, but announcement. To see him is to be reminded that life, however sweet, must one day end. And there is even pity woven into his tale. Imagine carrying your own severed head, your own rotting features for eternity. Perhaps he doesn't hunt with joy, but rides in sorrow, bound to a task no one would envy, to be forever the messenger of endings. In this way, the Dullahan embodies a strange kind of compassion. He does not chase the living to torment them. He comes because he must. He arrives because no one else dares to do the work he carries. He is the shadow that ensures the living do not forget their own fragility. The Dullahan is not a villain to be slain, nor a trickster to be avoided. He is the quiet certainty riding just beyond our sight. Every culture gives death a face, a voice, or a name. But in Ireland, it is a rider on a black horse, head in hand, eyes ever watching. He is a reminder that life is fragile, fleeting, and precious. To hear his chains, to glimpse his form, is to know that time waits for no one. Yet in that inevitability lies a kind of mercy. He does not choose, he does not linger. He only comes when the hour strikes. So when the hoofbeats echo across a lonely road, or a gate creaks without a hand to touch it, perhaps it is not horror that should fill us, but acceptance. The Dullahan rides for us all in time. And in that truth, he holds a strange and terrible grace.
The signal fades, but the rider does not. The Dullahan has ridden this path for centuries, and he will ride it for centuries more. His headless gaze falls on kings and beggars alike. There is no bargain, no escape, only inevitability. Some say the signal locks onto these stories because they demand to be remembered. Perhaps the Dullahan himself urged this transmission forward, a reminder that his ride is not yet finished. Wanderers, you've walked the misty roads of Ireland tonight, but the signal drifts still. There are more echoes waiting, spirits and legends from across the world that will not let themselves be forgotten. Do not linger too long. The next signal has already begun to bleed through. Find it while it lasts, before it fades back into the static, like hoofbeats swallowed by the mist.